Anyways, they knocked the tent over, and then they were cutting it up and giving it out as souvenirs.
Yeah, they tore the tent down. There were people under it. You could see in the videos.
Was a hot dog
people...
vendor there that happened to be a black man, and they were calling him all kinds of racial names. And they were calling him Uncle Tom, and why was he there promoting it, and why aren't you protesting with us, brother, and all that kind of stuff. And
yeah, and they destroyed some of his equipment. And luckily, the community is kind of band together and
raise some money for him.
Raise some money to more money than I think the damage that was caused to his equipment. But
right, I think he's retiring in the Bahamas now. But anyways,
yeah,
could be.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Probably.
Yeah,
probably.
Well, can we look at some of the pros and cons to right to work?
Yeah,
I know you don't want
the last part of this, and it
cons.
was kind of a different angle from this tent being taken down. Was Stephen Crowder? He's a conservative contributor. He contributes to Fox News. He was there, and there's
a freelance journalist, I guess. Right?
Yeah, to a point. And I saw one of his videos he did on Halloween. He was proving a point of how socialism doesn't work, and he was doing like a trunk or treat, and the kids were coming up with their candy, and if somebody had a bag with more candy, he would
taking it
redistribute the candy.
They didn't like that.
These kids were threatening to call the police and stuff.
They didn't like that.
It was pretty funny, but I have some audio of him being attacked here. I don't know if you want me to play it or not. I don't know if it's edited. So just
play it
if there's any young ears out there, just be prepared. There may be some adult language in this.
I can hardly wait.
Right to work that you oppose so much. Whatever you oppose about right to work is because it's the freedom to freeload. They can suck all of the parasitical benefits and the hard wages that unions have negotiated, and they get it for free.
Already destroyed one tent. Leave the tent alone.
Get the out of my face!
Don't tear down the tent.
Get the out of my face!
You hurt a lady in there.
You're addressing me. I ain't hurt nobody. You hurt the out of my face. Back the up.
Stop tearing down the tent.
Back the up.
Okay.
This is where he gets hit.
You just assaulted me, though.
Chaos.
He's got a gun!
He's got a gun.
I'll kill a motherfucker with a gun! I killed 20 motherfuckers with a gun!
And there's the tent going down. So, Crowder, that was Crowder that you heard talking through most of it. He asked the first guy, what is it that you don't like about right to work? And it's all about freeloaders, is what this union guy said. And, and then it cuts to him trying to stop people from tearing down this tent. And they're just, you heard the guy, get the F out of my face, the very large man yelling this at him. And
then he gets punched.
And then he gets punched, gets hit 4 times in the face. And then he turns around and he's trying to help, and someone grabs him from behind and pulls him back out. Luckily, he had some people there that kind of helped. He didn't retaliate, and he was asked why several times, and he said he knew if he did that they would literally kill him.
Probably would have. Yeah.
That the mob would have literally killed him. And what's funny is Stephen Crowder can defend himself. He's a mixed martial arts guy. And in fact, he went on Fox News and several other outlets after this, and they raised they raised a bunch of money to find out who this guy was that assaulted him, and they actually did find out who he was because he's wearing a UAW jacket with his full name on it. He's a member of IEBW out of Grand Rapids. They raised money to find out who he was, and he gave this guy choices. He said, what we can do, we can use this money to prosecute you, and you'll go to jail, or you face me like a man in a legal, regulated, sanctioned MMA cage match, and I will donate this money to the charity or the union of your choice. And I thought that was brilliant because that would be hilarious.
Yeah.
That would be hilarious publicity for everybody.
What did he do?
This guy's chair. I haven't heard if he's chosen anything. He's probably hid in his house or at Jimmy Hoffa's house or one of these thugs' houses or something. Junior. Yeah. I mean, is there a difference? I mean, really?
Well, one's dead.
One's junior and
one's not.
The other, no, that's true. But it got violent as protests like this do. But I mean, how many gun rallies have we had? Pro-gun rallies, and how much violence is there? There's none at them. I mean, generally, you look at the Tea Party events, you look at the gun right events, you look at any conservative events, and the violence always comes from the left. And you always have these paid, bust-in, union thugs that are causing this trouble.
I wish I could defend that, but I can't.
Well, it doesn't need defense. I mean, that's just how it is, and we need to figure out how to stop it. But I don't know that we can.
Let's look at some things here. This is Terry Crenshaw, who's a writer, and he put up some things on the pros and cons of right to work. And some of the pros he had was that one of the biggest reasons is that it's not ethical to force employees to pay union dues if they don't want to join. I understand that.
Yep.
In fact, the freedom of association cited in the Constitution. They should have the ability to join or not join a union as they see fit. Additionally, Dimension is brought into the debate where allegations are made that the money raised by the unions is being used to support causes that may be controversial or not of the same ideology of the worker.
Yeah, and that's the big one to me. Unions, these big unions, it's really just a huge money laundering scheme. Because, I mean, what happens is you have the union members who pay dues to the unions, who donate their dues to the Democrats, who then pass things like TARP and the bailouts and why am I drawing a blank on the stimulus? The stimulus package, which go back to the unions. The shovel-ready crap. All that happened was we took the money for that was passed in the stimulus to go to shovel-ready jobs, and it went to teachers and police officers so they wouldn't get laid off in these unions. And then these unions collected dues and then donated it right back to the Obama campaign. And, I mean, that's the big one for me. People should not be forced to pay dues, which will directly or indirectly end up funding candidates and political positions that they don't agree with.
Right. The argument is, though, that the Democratic Party is the one most likely to support labor positions and to help the worker. Crenshaw goes on to say, if the money were used,
I don't.
Well, if
agree
the money
with
were
that.
used just to help the employees, they might be more likely to want to pay union dues.
Yeah, and I saw a stat that like only 24% of union dues are actually going to bargaining, and the rest of it is all either administrative or political causes. So that's a really low percentage of union dues that are
used for that.
For that.
Right. And he pointed out some of the cons were, it kind of goes both ways. Unions often protect their members from unfair terms on behalf of the employees. They try to negotiate fair wages and benefits. They try to keep employers from taking advantage of the workers, that want to offer no benefits or pay a lower wage. So those are some of the things that are, in favor of unions.
Yeah, and I definitely think that those are legitimate points. There are places for unions. I just think it should be up to the individuals of whether they're actually getting a benefit out of the union or not. If they are getting a benefit from the union, they will pay the union dues, and the unions will still be around, and they'll still have the power.
Right.
But if they're not providing the service that they're there to provide, like we saw in Wisconsin where 2/3 of the teachers left the teachers' unions, they obviously weren't seeing a benefit, then I don't think that the employees should be forced to pay those union dues.
Right. Well, I know. It's like, Washington Post had an article on there, and it was a good article, and they're saying, the priority at this point, in our economy and we are now in our country, is that, the benefit is having a job in the first place, even if it pays less.
Yep.
In right-to-work states, the average wage is, they're saying, about 10% lower. We have some other statistics that say it's not quite that bad.
Yeah.
But in right-to-work states, unemployment also is about 10% lower. So they hire more people at a little bit less salary, but more people are working. So the thing is, higher wages or lower unemployment. It's a wrenching choice. What do you do?
Well, yeah, I mean,
it also looks like there's a labor bubble that's going to burst. You know how houses were worth so much money and then that busted, and they're saying it corrected now, and houses are only worth so much.
Yep.
Wages are going to be lowered, but more people are going to be working.
Well, Indiana just
that.
fairly recently, 2011 maybe, passed right-to-work legislation, and their unemployment went down, and they actually had companies moving to their state. Michigan Governor Rick Snyder mentioned that he's heard from corporations, and I generally don't believe much of what he says, but he said he's talked to corporations that didn't want to move to Michigan because they are moving to right-to-work states.
Right.
And I think we are seeing that companies are tending to concentrate in right-to-work states because they can provide goods and services at a more reasonable, more competitive price, which, causes more consumers to buy their product, which causes them to need, to manufacture or whatever they do to make more product, and that creates a need for more workers, which is always a good thing. I think anything that can increase the demand for workers, labor or otherwise, is a good thing.
I have some statistics from the Economic Policy Institute. It's 2011 data. It says that they found that wages in right-to-work states are 3.2% lower than in non-right-to-work states. All right?
Okay.
Now, there's lots of little variables there. Cost of living is an issue and stuff. They're saying that the average full-time worker in right-to-work states make about $1,500 less. All right?
Per year.
Annually, right. And it doesn't look into all the little things like we talked about, the cost of living. I mean, certain parts of the country, a loaf of bread doesn't cost as much as it does in other places.
Yeah, think of the big labor areas, Detroit, Chicago, New York.
And they also found that 2.6% percentage points are lower in right-to-work states on employer-sponsored health insurance. So they're saying that maybe 2 million fewer workers are nationally covered by insurance.
Okay.
But with Obamacare...
Oh, geez.
I mean, that's another issue.
That's not going to
help. And that they found that, pensions were 4.8%. So the results by these guys is, yes, it does have an effect on health care insurance, salary, and pensions. But the unemployment rate goes down, so more people are working.
Yeah.
So is that a net benefit for society as a whole or not? You might be making less, but more of your neighbors and friends have jobs.
Well, yeah,
that's important as well.
Yeah, it is, and I think that's definitely better for the community. Like I said before, anything that can increase the number of jobs is a good thing. People are working, supporting themselves. You have competition. Competition will lower prices, on its own. So that, I'm not an economist, but the money you're not making, if everything, ideally, you would make that it wouldn't be an issue because products would be cheaper.
The argument, though, is that the employer, the company, is not going to lower their prices for products. They're going to reap the benefit and profit and not pass it on to the consumer. If you could make the argument that, I'm getting less money, but the costs of things are reduced because of that, then it washes out and it's, even. But that's not usually what happens.
Competition is what decreases the price. Company A and B sell the same thing. A has to pay union wages, and B is free to negotiate, with each employee based on based on their